At 5:14 local time, the ship is in open water under clear conditions. Visibility is good. Then, without warning, the radar picture shifts. 5 new surface contacts appear. They are spread out, moving faster than the surrounding traffic, and their tracks look purposeful, steady, controlled. Nothing about their movement seems random. Inside the Combat Information Center, one of the watchstanders leans in. The range is closing. Their speed is climbing. The data speaks for itself. Multiple surface contacts are holding a steady bearing on the bridge. The conversation stops, not out of fear, but because everyone already understands what they are seeing. Condition 3 is set. Throughout the ship, practiced routines take over instantly. Watertight doors are checked, critical stations are manned. The shift happens smoothly, almost silently, like a machine moving into its next gear. No alarms, no shouting, just disciplined motion. The carrier stays on course. Out across the water, the 5 contacts keep coming. Their spacing narrows, then opens again, as if testing positioning. Radar classification becomes clearer. Long-range optics begin to define the shapes. Sharp superstructures, compact outlines, unmistakably military profiles, not civilian vessels. In CIC, a new report comes through. CPA is dropping. The closest point of approach is no longer just a calculation on a screen. It is now a matter of minutes. Electronic support systems come fully online. Receivers begin listening, sorting, logging. The space around the ship fills with signals, search radar, navigation pulses, low-power sweeps probing for a reaction. Every frequency is recorded. Every pattern is tracked. Still, no response is sent. On the flight deck, work slows, but it does not stop. Aircraft are secured. Crews stay at their stations. No one rushes. No one breaks composure. They have trained for moments like this, and training turns pressure into routine. At 0517, the forward gun mount shifts a few degrees. Not enough to target anything, just enough to be noticed. Metal turns. A few sailors pause for a heartbeat, then continue moving. In CIC, the identification becomes firm. 5 surface combatants from the Iranian Navy. No one offers commentary. No one argues the point. The identification changes nothing in the procedure. It only removes doubt. The Iranian ships adjust speed again. 2 move ahead faster. 1 falls slightly behind, offsetting the formation. It is not disorder. It is deliberate positioning, a way of shaping the sea around the carrier and reducing its options. The range continues to fall. Bridge-to-bridge hails are prepared, but not yet transmitted. The carrier's escorts begin to shift subtly into place, their hulls carving clean wakes. No sudden turns, no dramatic movement, just one geometry answering another. At 0520, the first Iranian ship crosses a bearing line that matters. Not over the line, not yet, but close enough to signal intent. In CIC, the watch officer says it plainly. The contact is maneuvering. That one sentence changes the pace of everything. The timeline compresses. Distances that once felt abstract become real. Miles become water between hulls. Seconds begin to matter. Electro-optical sensors zoom tighter. Heat signatures brighten across the display. Bridge windows, open decks, figures moving topside. Everything is captured, stabilized, stored. Still no one opens fire. Still no one raises their voice. The captain speaks in the same calm tone as before. He does not need to speak louder. Orders move through the ship like current through a wire. Quiet, exact, final. The Iranian formation keeps advancing. 5 hulls, 5 wakes. Their speed remains steady. Someone in CIC remarks on the symmetry. 5 ships approaching a single carrier is never random. It is a message written in steel and distance. At 0523, CPA updates again. 2 tracks are now projected to pass within 3 nautical miles. That is close enough to matter. On the bridge, one final check is made. Course steady, speed unchanged. The carrier does not turn away, it does not surge ahead. It shows no hesitation. The escorts hold position. The deck stays controlled. The sky remains clear. Ahead, the 5 Iranian warships continue to close. No missiles, no warnings, no major launch signatures. Only speed, only intent. And every sailor watching the displays knows that whatever comes next will be decided in minutes, not hours. The line has been reached and neither side has backed down. At 0524 local time, the first hail dissolves into static. No reply follows. On the surface plot, the 5 Iranian contacts do not reduce speed. Instead, their formation begins to shift, subtly at first, then clearly. 2 ships widen their spacing. One remains on the center line, the other 2 edge forward, offsetting the carrier's bow by a few degrees. Inside CIC, the tracks redraw in real time. Bearings update, vectors lengthen and curve. What had looked like a straight approach is no longer straight. The contacts are maneuvering, the watch officer reports a pattern shift. This is not a reckless rush forward. It is something more measured, more calculated. Electronic warfare consoles register another change. Iranian radar activity increases. Still surface search radar, still non-lethal, but now it is more focused. Pulse timing tightens, power rises. They are no longer simply moving through the water. They are actively measuring distance, speed, and reaction. Every signal is logged. At 0526, the projected CPA drops once more. 2 Iranian ships are now expected to pass inside 3 nautical miles if neither side changes course. That distance carries weight. On the bridge, the carrier holds its heading. Speed does not change. The choice not to maneuver is deliberate. A sudden turn would give up space. Acceleration would signal urgency. The carrier does neither. Instead, the escorts begin to reposition. Not sharply, not in a way that looks dramatic from afar. One moves half a mile ahead. Another eases outward, narrowing the available approach corridor without fully closing it. From above, it might seem minor. From the water, it changes the entire picture. At 0528, one Iranian warship makes a clear course change. Its bow swings inward toward the projected path of an American escort. The movement is precise and intentional, its wake bending hard to port. In CIC, the report comes immediately. Contact Sierra 3 is crossing our lane. Fire control systems shift to standby. Optical sensors are reassigned. Long-range cameras tighten their zoom, pulling deck details into focus. Movement appears near the forward gun mount. Helmets are visible. Hands are moving, busy but disciplined. No weapons are aimed, not yet. A second bridge-to-bridge hail is sent. Calm, even, by procedure. You are conducting unsafe maneuvers. Alter course immediately. Again, there is no answer. The Iranian ship continues its turn. The American escort does not move off its line. It stays steady, predictable, forcing the situation to resolve on the water. Between the 2 hulls, the sea begins to break apart as their wakes collide, turbulence spreading across the surface. At this range, nothing is accidental. At 0530, electronic support measures spike again. A narrow radar sweep from the Iranian ship passes across the carrier group. It is still not a fire control lock, but it is closer than before. Close enough to matter, close enough to be recorded. They're painting us, the EW officer says. The carrier strike group does not answer the same way. No targeting radar comes online. No electronic countermeasures are used. The response remains the same. Restraint, backed by visible presence. By 0532, the Iranian formation tightens even more. The wider spacing compresses into a shallow arc, pressing inward from several bearings. It is not a full surround, but the intention is no longer unclear. In CIC, someone says what everyone is already thinking. They are trying to box us in. No one corrects the statement. The carrier keeps moving ahead, cutting a straight line through open water. Aircraft remain secured on deck. Crews stay ready. But the sky remains empty. Nothing launches. Nothing flashes. Nothing breaks the tension. At 0534, one Iranian vessel pushes closer than the rest. Its projected CPA falls below 2 nautical miles. That crosses a line no one has to say out loud. Deck cameras capture every detail: hull numbers, wake length, relative bearing, the posture of the crew. Timestamps burn into every frame. This is no longer just awareness of the moment, it is documentation. The escorts answer not with speed, but with placement. One moves into the narrowing gap, putting steel where open water had been only seconds before. The maneuver is exact, measured down to yards, leaving the Iranian ship with a choice: keep closing or change course. For one long second, nothing changes. Then the Iranian vessel hesitates. Its bow steadies. Its speed dips slightly, only a fraction, almost invisible unless someone is watching the numbers. In CIC, the update comes in quietly. Contact speed fluctuating. The pressure does not disappear, but it falters. The carrier stays on course. No announcement is made, no declaration follows. The message has already been delivered without words. This is no longer routine shadowing. This is no longer chance. This is a test of control, and the balance is beginning to move. At 0536 local time, the carrier strike group changes phase. Not in speed, not in heading, in posture. Inside CIC, a quiet instruction moves across the net. No dramatic language, no talk of escalation, just execution. Prepare airborne asset. On the flight deck, the stillness gives way, not to chaos, but to focused motion. Tie-downs come off. Rotors are cleared. A Seahawk sits forward on the deck, already positioned well before this moment arrived. At 0537, the helicopter lifts, low, fast, controlled. It does not climb high for effect. It rises only enough to clear the deck, then slides out over the water. From a distance, it could look routine. Up close, it changes everything. In CIC, the airborne feed comes alive. Electro-optical and infrared sensors sharpen at once. Heat blooms from exhaust stacks. Hull lines stand out against the cooler sea. Bridge windows resolve into bright rectangles. Everything is being captured. The Seahawk angles toward the nearest Iranian ship, not aggressively, not directly overhead. It takes a parallel track offset just enough to be unmistakable without appearing provocative. This is presence, not aggression. At 0539, the helicopter settles into a stable, low-altitude position. The sensor operator locks the gimbal in place. The image steadies instantly. Faces come into view on deck. Movements slow down, becoming deliberate, cautious. On the Iranian ship, crew members look up. Some raise a hand to block the glare. Others stop moving altogether. Inside CIC, the log updates. Airborne IS are established. Electronic warfare teams keep listening. Iranian radar remains active, but the signals begin to fluctuate. Power levels cycle. Pulse timing shifts. The pattern is no longer steady. They are reacting now, not pressing forward. At 0540, a green laser appears. Not a weapon, just a marker. It traces across the Iranian ship's bridge windows for less than a second, then disappears. Long enough to be noticed, brief enough to stay clearly non-lethal. No voice follows it. The message is visual. The helicopter holds its path, circling at a distance that maintains separation. No aggressive passes, no low sweeps. The rotor wash presses into the sea below, leaving a visible ring of disturbed water. At 0542, one Iranian ship reduces speed slightly. The numbers dip, then settle. In CIC, the update comes through. Contact decelerating slightly. The carrier does not change, the escorts maintain their positions. The helicopter continues to observe its sensors capturing everything. Antenna arrays, deck equipment, crew behavior. This is not intimidation, this is precise recording. Another Iranian vessel briefly sweeps its radar across the helicopter. The EW console registers it immediately. Frequency, power, dwell time, all captured. Still, no countermeasures are used. Restraint remains the dominant signal. At 0544, the Seahawk transmits for the first time. The voice is steady, professional. Iranian naval vessel. This is a United States Navy aircraft. You are operating at unsafe proximity. Your actions are being recorded. The message repeats once in Persian, then silence returns. The helicopter does not move closer. It does not break its orbit. It simply remains there. From the carrier's bridge, everything unfolds through glass and screens. No one speaks. The captain keeps his eyes forward. The margin for decisions has narrowed, but the decision itself has not changed. At 0546, the first clear shift appears. One Iranian ship adjusts course by a few degrees. It is subtle, almost invisible without measurement. Seconds later, another follows. The arc begins to loosen. In CIC, the report is quiet. Formation coherence degrading. The pressure that once felt solid now stretches, less rigid, more uncertain. The helicopter widens its orbit slightly, maintaining visual contact without pursuing. It does not signal any kind of conclusion. It does not leave, it simply stays present. At 0548, speed changes ripple through the Iranian formation. Not a withdrawal, not yet, but no longer a coordinated push. The carrier strike group holds its posture steady and unchanged. No shots are fired, no warnings escalate, no force is used. And still, the balance begins to shift. By 0550, the encounter enters a different phase. Control no longer belongs to the side closing distance. It belongs to the side that controls space without needing to claim it. The helicopter continues its orbit, the carrier continues forward, and the Iranian formation begins to feel the constant weight of observation. This is how pressure breaks. Not through impact, but through presence. And it is still unfolding. At 0551 local time, the change is almost imperceptible. One Iranian warship reduces speed by less than a knot. On the surface plot, it barely registers. Inside CIC, it is seen immediately. Numbers update, vectors stretch. The arc that had been tightening begins to open slightly. Contact Sierra 2 decelerating, the watch officer reports. No one reacts outwardly. The carrier stays on course. The escorts hold their positions. The helicopter remains steady in its orbit. The pressure is still there, but it is no longer uniform. At 0553, another Iranian ship drifts slightly off alignment. Not a clear turn, not a retreat, just enough to disrupt the formation. What once looked precise now begins to look strained. Inside CIC, a quiet note follows. Spacing irregular. Electronic warfare consoles confirm the change. Radar emissions lose consistency. One ship drops power, another shifts modes briefly, then returns to search. The rhythm breaks. They are no longer acting as a single unit. The Seahawk climbs slightly, just enough to expand its sensor coverage. The camera zooms in on the nearest bridge. In the stabilized image, the crew's movements are slower now, less decisive, more watchful. Hands rest along the railings. No one stands near the gun mount anymore. At 0555, the helicopter's green laser appears again. A quick controlled sweep across the superstructure. Non-lethal, precise, impossible to misunderstand. This time, the reaction is immediate. The marked Iranian ship slows further. Its wake shortens. The bow wave pulls inward. In CIC, the update comes through in a steady voice. Confirmed deceleration. Speed now below group average. The carrier continues forward, cutting a clean path through the water. It does not react to the change. It does not take advantage of it. It simply maintains course and speed. At 0557, a third Iranian ship shifts its heading slightly away from the carrier's projected track. The movement is cautious, measured, almost reluctant. The partial ring that once seemed ready to close now opens on one side. That is the moment everyone recognizes. Not a retreat, but a release. On the bridge, no one speaks. The captain's posture remains unchanged. The key decision has already been made. What follows is observation. The escorts begin to ease their positions, widening their spacing just enough. Not pulling back, not stepping away, but allowing the geometry to relax. A quiet form of de-escalation, visible only to those paying close attention. In CIC, CPA updates again. Distances begin to grow. The countdown that had been shrinking now reverses direction. CPA trending outward, the watch officer reports. At 0559, the first radio transmission comes from the Iranian formation. The signal carries through with light distortion, but the meaning is clear. The tone is careful, procedural. No demands, no threats. They state their presence, reference nearby national waters, and suggest parallel operations. The response is immediate and controlled. This is a United States Navy warship conducting lawful transit in international waters. Your unsafe maneuvers have been recorded. Maintain safe distance. No added words, no escalation. Throughout the exchange, the Seahawk remains in orbit. Its presence is constant. Its sensors continue recording. The laser stays off. At 0601, the Iranian ships begin to separate. The tight formation loosens. Two vessels fall slightly behind. Another moves wider to the side. The center ship holds position for a moment longer, then gradually eases back as well. In CIC, the call is made. Encirclement attempt terminated. The pressure that defined the last 40 minutes fades away. Not all at once, but completely. The water between the ships settles. Wakes stretch out again. The sea returns to its natural rhythm. The carrier strike group does not pursue. It does not comment. It does not celebrate. At 0603, the Seahawk widens its orbit one last time, then begins a gradual climb. No rush, no delay. The task is complete. The carrier continues on its original heading, speed unchanged. The flight deck transitions back to routine readiness. To an outside observer, it would seem like nothing significant happened. But inside CIC, the logs tell the full story. A coordinated approach, an attempt to constrain movement, a measured response, and a visible shift. No weapons used, no damage taken, just a boundary tested and held. The moment passes and everyone involved understands it. At 0604 local time, the water opens up again. What had been compressed space stretches outward, mile by mile, bearing by bearing. On the surface plot, the 5 Iranian tracks drift apart. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but with clear intent. Distances increase, speeds return to normal. The geometry that once pressed inward dissolves back into open sea. In the Combat Information Center, the update is quiet. Contacts increasing range. No one repeats it. No one needs to. The carrier strike group does not react. No change in course, no shift in speed, no signal that anything is ended. The carrier simply continues forward. At 0605, the Seahawk begins its return. It climbs gradually, widening its orbit one last time before turning back toward the carrier. Its sensors stay active. Cameras continue recording until the Iranian ships fade beyond resolution. Nothing is left untracked. On the flight deck, recovery crews move into position. The helicopter settles smoothly onto the deck. Rotors slow. The aircraft is secured, powered down, chained in place. Another operation completed without incident. From a distance, everything now looks ordinary. 5 warships on one horizon, a carrier on another, all moving separately, nothing out of place. But inside CIC, the records tell a different story. Data streams are closed and archived. Radar activity, speed changes, course shifts, time-stamped imagery of decks, bridges, and wakes. Every action preserved exactly as it happened. This is how modern encounters at sea conclude, not with damage, but with documentation. At 0610, the Iranian ships settle onto new headings. None attempt to close the distance again. None remain near the carrier's projected path. The pressure that once defined their movement is gone. On the bridge, the captain stays on watch. No speech, no commentary. The carrier continues forward through calm water, steady and uneventful. The escorts return to their normal spacing. Distances widen. The posture eases, but never completely. At sea, things rarely return to neutral. There is no declaration of success, no announcement over the net. The absence of escalation is the result. 5 Iranian warships moved in close to a U.S. carrier. What followed speaks for itself. They tested distance, they tested resolve, they tested restraint, and they met a boundary that didn't need to be said out loud. The carrier strike group does not pursue. It does not shadow. It does only what is required, nothing more. The mission continues exactly as planned. By 0615, the encounter is already becoming history. Logged, stored, ready to be reviewed and studied. No shots fired, no damage taken, no change to mission, just a line held in open water. For the sailors on watch, the takeaway is not dramatic. It is procedural. Stay calm under pressure. Follow training. Maintain presence without forcing escalation. This is how control is maintained. Not through force, but through certainty. As the carrier moves on, the sea closes behind it. The visible signs of the encounter fade. Only the wakes remain for a short time, then disappear into calm water. But every ship involved knows exactly what happened. The approach was deliberate. The response was measured. The outcome was clear. And in the language of professional navies, that says everything.